Hi. Hello, 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 hello. Did I? I didn't put OJ on in the title. Okay. It's an OJL, Oracle Juice Live. You know what that means. I got 2 bottles yesterday, cans. And today I'm drinking the cherry limeade. Mm, excuse me. I'm not as much of a fan, TBH, but anyway, let's get into what we're getting into today. Give me long enough and I eventually come around on some things, right? So I know like yesterday at the end, I was like, that's beyond the scope of this and I'm not interested or whatever. While that still remains true, like the specifics of whatever, not necessarily, but the realm, sure, if possible. So it actually gives me, excuse me, the context. Um, I would say the pretense, but it gives me the context. Yesterday gave me the context to actually do what I wanted to do. Excuse me. I know I'm burpy. I'm sorry. Like earlier yesterday, I had the idea to use the Dicology program to like pick 2 majors and then a number of cards to like connect them. It's like I wanted to form a bridge yesterday. I didn't know why or for what, but with the context of where we ended the last reading, we have context. So if we get 2 majors that have the SKT, Vitruvian and Revelations edition, if we get one, then I'll choose one. If we get 3, then I'll pick a Fable Makers. Hold up. I don't think I thought this all the way through. Yeah, I did. Okay. Yeah. If there's 3, then I'll get a Fable Makers. And I'm using the Good Tarot as the D100. So we'll just see what happens, I guess. So when it came to theurgic rights, um that went that went down the wrong page. That happens to me too often. And I am not a fan. Sometimes I choke on air, liquids go down the wrong pipe, choke on my own saliva. Girl, it's a rough life. Eating, breathing, and drinking in the same orifice. Ugh. Well, I mean, I guess thank goodness we don't expel waste from the same orifice, I guess. Anyway, so there were like 3 flavors that Gemini suggested. Apotheosis. And it's so interesting how like as I not necessarily super consciously at the forefront of my mind, but just sort of like in the background, different. And it's interesting how many of them were like booster pack readings, um, or like readings that came from cards that weren't like tarot and oracle. I almost actually grabbed a pack of Magic the Gathering cards the day before yesterday, but they're all Spider Man right now, and I'm not enough of a DC Marvel. I'm not enough of a comic book dude, a superhero guy to be interested. So I was like, no, it's fine, not for me. Excuse me. Now, could I have challenged myself? Sure. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, should I go and pick up a pack just in case there's some ultra rare Spider-Man Magic the Gathering card that's like insanely valuable? Really? I mean, I know a little bit, but not much. Um, anyway, it was interesting how many of them sort of echoed out, sort of reached out to other readings. So there was the Apotheosis, was one. There's Provocation slash Invocation. I liked Invocation more, and like I couldn't think about it when I was like in the read, but invoking rather than provoking. Um, and then there was the Intercession, which I feel like is the standard or the norm, where you go to the divine and you ask, you pray, you plea for some kind of change. And then I looked up Apotheosis, and I was like, why have I not heard this? Deification is the one I would have heard more, which is more of a Latin root. Apotheosis is more Greek, because I was like, I wanted to get into the etymology of it. And they were like, it's Greek. I was like, oh, okay, well. I feel like, I mean, I took Latin in high school. That's not the only reason, but um, yeah, I feel like you do sort of see, I see deification more. Like I've seen apotheosis, but it was like the peak in the evolution of something. And so, not, yeah, and it was just, I don't know, it was interesting. So, without too much more of a ramble and pre-ramble, let us, I think I already have it, right? Yeah. So, I'm only going to use the first two. So, that's why I've like snipped the video thanks to the techno wizardry that I've inherited, that was bestowed upon me uh, from Rob. I know how to do stuff. OJL 331. We'll say bridge. We want D100 and the D20. We're going random. I am fully prepared for any case. And let's just do it. Add notes. No, generate. The star, the moon, and death. How interesting that they are all majors. I actually saw the moon. The moon has been coming out. It's been prominently featured, and I shouldn't be surprised. I actually saw the moon in the good tarot at the cut when I was shuffling. I don't really remember. I think it may have been the messenger of water on the other side. I don't really remember. Cool. Didn't necessarily expect three majors. Was kind of sort of hoping there'd be a little bit more of a bridge in the bridge. Also, we saw death yesterday. It in the SKT, the Reaper is the passage to initiation or something like that. Right? And it's, I mean, like, I guess what I love about death being here where it is, it's that it is like the typical, the standard, the anticipated keystone of the arch that is that bridge, because it represents transformations. There's a almost implied finality to death, even if it's not dying, even if it's just a transformation. If it's a transformation marked by death, you would kind of sort of assume it's a point that like you will never return to the point before that transition and transformation, right? Like things will be forever changed. Not, oh my gosh, it's a Kathy. Hey, how are you doing? You came to mind not too long ago. I was like, I wonder how Kathy's doing. Well, thanks for popping by. I hope that you have an amazing day and that things are going well. Ooh, all of my water is gone. I know. I like drink all of it. Your boy's been thirsty. I'm like back and I'm like hitting the soda pop so hard and hydrating so little. Oh, thank you. You made my day. All right. And then we have the moon and the star. The moon and the star are both interesting because they both provide light in the dark, right? They both have a role in illumination when the sun is absent. Also, like not low hanging fruit, it's easy to see like nighttime as closer to death because it's dark, right? So let's go for it. Let's pull. So the SKT Vitruvian is going to be the moon. Revelations is the star. Good tarot is death. The moon is the necromancer. The star is the healer. And death is, I don't know what. I love how I'm just like shuffling and shuffling and shuffling these cards. All right. One more and a cut from the bottom. We have the Golden Shield, the Dynasty, and the Archangel Commander. Power and authority of fire, the Dynasty, and the Angel of Storms and Battles. There's also that like sun and moon dynamic. I'll keep these up here. Looking for the moon. Excuse me. And there's the moon. The Giver, Moon and Taurus, and the title card. Under this is so interesting. So before the Giver was New World Order or the world. After the title card is Apocalypse or Judgment. We've there's some interesting imagery going on here. Like if death is the bridge for this to be between apocalypse and a new world, it's like it's like, oh my gosh, the scale. It's a matter of scale, which gives extensive. Mm, maybe not. The energy of scale in and of itself is more extensive because it's literally related to an amount, but the thing itself isn't necessarily like it's not necessarily changed or different because of the amount of the thing. It's also interesting here. Let me just show you. See if I can find it. Actually, did I already see it? I don't think I've seen it. There's something. No, we haven't. This was pretty close to the bottom of the deck. Oh. Oh. So here, the conservator is behind Apocalypse. We saw the conservator for of orbs in the Revelations edition yesterday. And in the Revelations edition, you take a zoomed out approach and you can see the painting on the ceiling. And in the painting on the ceiling, you have all of these figures with the golden sort of uh, sun aura thing around their head. The whole like implies enlightenment type of halo, whatever, right? Now it's interesting because you see that in both the golden shield and the archangel commander. They both had that around their heads, right? With the dynasty sort of in between them. With the sun and moon, the dynasty sun and moon is low key giving that dissociation, dissolution, dissonance. Also, we see this like solar rose type thing, this here, which we also see in the void. Now, the whole point was we have this star and the moon. We have two things that provide illumination in the dark. And so, symbolism, for the symbolism of the sun to be here is interesting. There's that politic again. There's lots of politics. I almost said something about it yesterday, but I was like, eh. Where's the sun? Here it is. Goodness. Excuse me. See, it's like reminiscent of the sun. But there are like multiple layers in the sun. So maybe that's why we see multiple iterations of that flower between the void of the dynasty and the scales in the giver. That was this. Another thing, excuse me. Ooh, I feel like it had passed, but now the irritation is coming back up. It's also interesting that the dynasty is here because we saw glass, the androgen, and fog yesterday. And those were the alchemy cards before the significator, which was, I don't remember. Was it before the benevolent guide or the mystical sister? When I went looking and we did 3 before and 3 after, we saw the androgen. And that like sun moon is given very sort of similar energy here. But it's like between New World Order and the apocalypse, it's like the two heads of this bird that are looking in opposite directions become one. And the wings, instead of them being like this, they're like that. So it's almost like at rest to in flight. Like there's this merging here. These two merge to create this kind of energy. So also to see all of those animals representing the different signs of the zodiac, fixed signs, but also those like golden halo type things with these sort of being here. And again, we saw them. I'm going to show you after we pull the card in the roof of the conservator, with the conservator being here. Again, it's that like in the absence of dissonance, those these components or analogs find each other and they merge, and that leads to whatever flavor of theurgic right. And nobody knows. I'm not going to say nobody because somebody out there might know. And just because like Just because this is what's coming out doesn't necessarily mean that I can speak to it personally, or that that is necessarily for me. I'm just reading the cards. You know what I mean? This could be for somebody else. I mean, in part, it could be for anybody because, again, it's more quantitative than qualitative, or it's more qualitative than quantitative. It's more kairos than chronos. And because it's more kairos, because it's more experiential, anyone who is in a position, excuse me, where this could be resonant, right? It's not a set number. And it's so funny because I had a balance of 144 yesterday, or I saw it on a receipt and I was like 144. Cool. Now let's look for the star, which is the healer. And again, it's like, oh. There's like so many, it's like spider webbing in all of the, and or it's like a brain. It's like a mind that's coming online. Like all of these neural pathways are being connected. We did see this moon in the Eight of Cups in both editions, but now we have the scarab there instead of the dove and that Thoth type energy. The gateway of resurrection is so, because I mentioned Pinamue, and I mentioned Pinamue because there are two editions or two versions of Pinamue in the Angelarium universe. There's the Pinamue that remembers, and then the Pinamue that forgets. And the Pinamue that remembers makes man or mortals more like the angels in their death, right? And again, death being that what's usually marked as a more severe transition, but again, in that Elijah are in that Elijah and Enochian energy, specifically, both Elijah and Enoch transcended their humanity, mortality without dying, right? Enoch became Metatron, Elijah became Sandalphon. I think a lot of the Bodhisattvas, again, I don't know nothing about a whole bunch of stuff, but I think they may have died. And then they were given an opportunity to transcend the mortal coil, but they chose to help humanity in whatever way, right? But usually, death leads to the afterlife, which leads to the next thing, post mortality. But I mean, we haven't seen it yet. Well, but this gateway of resurrection is interesting because, again, it's given that like it doesn't necessarily have to be a physical death, but also it's giving that Pinamue type energy, the one that remembers. But we've also seen this merging of the two and the presiding of that merging, the witnessing of that merging. So whatever was protected, that crossroad that's unattended, it's like something has been witnessed. The theurgic rite has been witnessed. And it's like it may not even necessarily be done or intended as a theurgic rite when it's done. Right? Like it's just a person that feels so moved by whatever that they do something. And the thing that they do garners the attention of the divine in some way and the divine moves in some way, and that becomes like their theurgic rite of passage. And again, the word right is so, it feels both appropriate and not at the same time. Like it feels appropriate with a sort of like sacred connotation, but not appropriate because of like the ritual aspects of it. Like it's not necessarily something that you just do. Because again, the whole last live was about performance and theater versus substance. A lot of times when we try to replicate or try to appear to be something, it becomes performance and theater and ritual without substance. or without knowledge or without enough intention to accomplish whatever. And in the absence of substance, anything can come into the vessel. Sometimes stuff you don't want. And it's again like for the giver to be here. Also, we see the two, excuse me, jackals, and they're connected. You see that like Pisces, they're connected, and we're looking for that bridge. What's on the other side, though, is the title card. And I love that the title card came out here. But also with this combination, it's like being given something that we don't even like know what we're being given. With this moon and Taurus energy, I'm pretty sure the moon is exalted in Taurus. And so not only it's like a super full moon, super new moon, maybe just super moon in general type energy. Moon in Taurus. Exaltation question mark. The moon is exalted in Taurus. Thank you. That's all I needed to know. And again, to see the moon exalted with the energy of a theurgic rite, it's like the moon is in a place where it's exalted, right? Kind of sort of plays into that deification. But again, there's title card on the other side. Maybe it's for no mortal to know. Or those who know will find out. Or no. Now let's look for the star. And again, I love that solar energy. So we also see New World Order is light's end. It's where the light reaches the ground here. In the Reaper, it's light's beginning. It's the light ascending from the earth into the heavens. Here it touches the ground again. Also, the jackals are here and we see the scales, very much so giving scales of Anubis, where the criteria or criterion is unknown. With the scales of Anubis, as we know, it's the heart measured against the feather. And if the heart is lighter than the feather, one thing. If the heart is heavier than the feather, another thing. One second, sorry. I know I'm like partially distracted, but also if like someone is asking, hey, who wants food? I do. Anyway, Moon and Taurus, okay, get your grub on. Um, there are so many little just like ping, 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 ping. Also, in the Necromancer card, we have this mystic cube thingy. I don't know, girl. But if you can tell, there are different nodes where the two sort of lines intersect. And these orbs are just conveniently sort of being dropped and received to fill those nodes. What happens when you complete it, I don't know, but we did see the mystic yesterday. And they're being dropped from above to below. Let's cut it and look for the healer. We have the tower with the axe of Shiva that removes corruption. We have the captor excuse me, with this blood moon lunar eclipse, and we have the dynasty again. Under the dynasty is the archangel of mysteries with an orb. You see that? Her hand and the hand down there. So maybe it's bi-directional. It's not unidirectional. It doesn't only descend from the firmament. Again, maybe it also rises from the fundament. This could be a portal energy just because there's the lunar eclipse, there's a blood moon in the sky, and also like this thing up here with again the axe of Shiva that removes corruption. We see two crescent moons waxing and waning. Also, we see that temple out in the water. And the Two of Swords blind seer. You see that more prominently. It is so like the vagabond, which we saw yesterday as indicator of that dissonance, is under the archangel of mysteries. And that's what happened like when you try to put the eye in the sky. We saw it in this deck. Creates this dissonance. But it's like something about one of these is similar to the background in this captor. Where this is actually the angel in this deck. Where the angel is being held captive. We see that vagabond imagery in the background. We're looking for the star, the healer. See, in the conservator 4 of orbs, all of the characters painted on the ceiling had that halo, golden, whatever around their heads. This is the one that we saw. This is the thing that must be protected. Again, we see them in the Archangel Commander and the Golden Shield, power and authority of fire, and the Angel of Storms and battles. This could be battles in the soul. Fire being related to the soul, storms and battles. What are they? It's fine. But again, because of context, with the energy of this merging, we see those same figures present. And we see the completed cube. There are no more empty slots in that cube because they've all been filled. See here, they look like circles, right? There are the orbs that fill those slots. The cube is filled here at light's end or light's fall, where the light touches the earth. Anyway, cool. Oh, and they're orbs. Orbs to be protected, freely given to the one seen as worthy. And look, there are 4 cubes around that conservator. So apparently the one in charge of disseminating or dispersing or overseeing some kind of something. I love how I'm like, here in the blind seer, you see the eye of God with the sun, the moon, and those cubes. Right? And that's the tower. The tower that's in the distance in this 8 of Swords captor. It's like way back there. It's more prominent here. And the blind seer. Again, the fact that it's the blind seer and we have the sun and the moon, both things that are luminous at night. Interesting. Do I know what the star looks like in this deck? Guess we'll find it. I'm pretty sure I do. Yeah, it has that Kuan Yin. Look at this. New World Order is with the title card in this deck. On the other side of New World Order is the Kindred. The Kindred in this deck is literally, these are three minor empresses. And then on the other side of New World Order is the Empress. Or on the other side of the title card is the Empress. It's so interesting here too. Again, we see the Three of Cups, the Kindred, where we've been seeing the Three of Wands, the politic, the politic, the politic. I even commented on it because I saw it earlier next to some card. I was like, there's a lot of politics. Okay. And of course, it's next to the Holy Grail because why wouldn't it be? The healer, the star, is in between the Hector, the Five of Swords, and the Holy Grail, the Ace of Cups. Ace of Chalices, the purifying. Now, the interesting thing about this Five of Swords is we see the owl. The owl is interesting because when the energy of this unattended crossroads came up, it was because Los Bujos was in reverse and what Las Cruces or La Cruce was upright. Here's the owl that was missing from the crossroads when we saw the crossroads, but there it has descended just like the dove has descended. And there's that orb now clear where we sort of saw it in darkening as an eye. See, this is low key giving not interesting. The Dynasty is the first card of the bottom three from the Vitruvian edition, and the last card of the bottom three in the Revelations edition. It's almost giving Samson and Delilah, not necessarily in terms of like destruction, but you see the captive. There's the energy of the theurgic rite, something that's done that inspires the divine to move, and then the captor is suffering. So, and again, right next to it, the acts of Shiva that removes corruption. We saw Venom last night. Venom was at the bottom of the deck when we got the final wild unknown archetype, and the temple was there. And it was the energy of like this breeze that's how we ended up at a theurgic rite. Something that's done that causes this divine wind to come in and like purge an area of a plague as this divine breeze sort of blows through. And again, venom was Lord Shiva swallowing the venom, processing it internally, alchemizing it into the nectar. Where we saw sugar, there's the axe that removes corruption with that portal up there at the same time where we see the blood moon, lunar eclipse. Remover of corruption, and to see that, and this air, Eight of Swords. I actually saw, maybe it was the Eight of Air with the moon at the cut. Because then I saw the Nine of Air in the good tarot. And we had this, like, this is so interesting. Because the Papal Bull is the servant, messenger, liaison. Like the crow was to the council, the Papal Bull is to the Hierophant. In the Vitruvian edition, The Hierophant, the Holy See, is not necessarily great energy, but in the Revelations edition, it's literally a Bodhisattva. Again, we're in this apotheosis Bodhisattvic legend energy. And that's who we see here. Well, while we see the messenger liaison representative of that Bodhisattvic energy, the owl has descended. The crossroad is not unattended anymore. This battle will come to a swift, decisive, and conclusive end. And it may not even, oh my gosh, there's the raven or the blackbird, literally the blackbird we saw in the darkening and the blackbird we saw in the crow that was the messenger of the council. Literally right there. Love it. It may not even necessarily play out in the realm, like in the same sort of realm, right? It could be something that happens mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and then you see physical earthly changes. And again, it's because the fundament and the firmament, that bridge is connected. Excuse me, those analogs can meet, and the thing, like a proper I don't think transpiration is a word, but something can transpire properly because the fundament is meeting the firmament. There's no longer dissonance. And also with the healer, she's sitting on a lotus in the Holy Grail. There are multiple lotuses that are here. Now, the heart of this star, I believe, is the heart of the Wheel of Fortune in this step, in this rendition. It may be different in the other one. Hold up. See, here's the Hierophant here. There's the paper bowl. That's that. Is he also on the lotus? Yeah, he's also on the lotus. You can see the petals down here and the pink petals under him. Also, he holds that orb that we kind of sort of see in the conservator, but it's all together. It's like not separate. I didn't, I don't remember where it was. I just pulled these and like left the cards. The joined one, two of cups is in between the giver and the blind seer. We saw the joined one yesterday. There's that six of wands. There's the seer with again the tower, the sun, the moon, and that cube. Or those cubes. Oh well, it's fine. I remember seeing the kindred. It's different than the Wheel of Fortune. Is it this? I feel like this is the card. I feel like this is on one of these. But if it's not the Wheel of Fortune, then it's not the sun. I don't know what it would be. There's the kindred. Oh well. It's fine. Yeah, it's not the sun. I was looking at the center of the star. I don't know if it'll focus. Not really. It's like a triangle, and then like there's the middle of the Wheel of Fortune. So it's like similar. There you go. It's similar, but in the star, we see all the colors. All the colors being these different cubes that you see the yellow, the green, the red, and the blue cubes that sort of orbit that conservator, and how the conservator protects that orb versus how the Hierophant holds it. It's like inside of that. But again, in the Ace of Cups, we see it clear. Whereas in the darkening, it was dark and or clouded. So it's like this exists inside of those orbs. Also, that's like a 2D, 3D type. They're three-dimensional in the conservator, but that disc is two-dimensional or more two-dimensional, more of a circle, more of an orb or a sphere. Cool. Now, the good tarot, we're pulling before and after death. I don't even know if there's a death card in the good tarot. So I guess we could go for number 13. Who was that? A card came out face down, and it is covering the Hector. It's like bridging the Hector, or the healer, the Hector, and it's reaching over into this title card. That song is in my head. Is it transformation? Oh, I love that it's transformation rather than death. Oh, the bottom three cards were Temptation, the Eight of Air, and the Queen of Earth. Eight of Air, Eight of Swords, the Captor. Also, it's so interesting that the Queen of Earth is here. Just the fact that it's titled the Queen of Earth, for one thing, especially when it was the Pachamama versus Earth yesterday. But we see the butterfly here and the Queen of Earth. This is like another throwback to another reading, because I remember before, like when I was still in my last place, the Queen of Swords in this deck has an owl. Usually the Queen of Swords has butterflies, right? And that was the whole, like, how are we even supposed to know? How are we even supposed to see this thing that is so difficult? And it's interesting that we're looking before and after the star, because the star was the like a key influence in that reading. And it was like your intuition and discernment will tell you. Because besides that, there is no way. It's like nothing has transpired to make this a logical conclusion. Nothing has happened to make someone like feel like this is a possibility or even a potentiality, let alone an eventuality. But intuition and discernment, the divine knows and can say, not necessarily will, but can. And in the Queen of Air, I'm pretty sure there is an owl. Just like we've seen the owl descend in the revelation of the Hector. And the whole thing there was like to not, if wisdom is based upon experience, to not lean so heavily on one's wisdom that we discredit or miss what the intuition and discernment can reveal. Because again, there was nothing necessarily, there was no bridge. So there was nothing connecting one thing to the other. Wisdom and experience, knowledge and pattern recognition would all point to something being impossible. There she is, the Queen of Air. It's not descending, it's just sort of perched there. But the wings on her crown are up, just like the wings on Judgment. Not Judgment, New World Order. Love that the Queen of Earth is here. Because again, it was very much so that, like, but the Page of Air is on the other side. I don't necessarily know what the goal was here, besides, like, shouldn't you be asleep? One second. Where's the raised eye emoji? Raised eyebrow. There we go. Okay. These were the bottom three: Temptation, the Eight of Air, and the Queen of Earth. Also, we've seen like this descending dove. The dove's wings are raised, just like New World Order. Also, like there are four cubes in the Conservator. There's the cube and the four guardians. Also, I'm pretty sure that I Ching number 20, mentioned kings of the past calling upon the four guardians. So to see those four guardians, it's like, oh wow, you know what I mean? Let me see real quick. Let me check real quick. There's I Ching 30, I Ching 20. There is a need for contemplation, seeing but not understanding. Like a child, you see the circumstances going on around you, but you fail to grasp the ramifications. Kings past call upon the four guardians of the universe to aid them toward the correct guidance of their people. Four guardians of the universe, and we see four guardians in this New World Order. And apparently, the guardians are the fixed signs, anyway. And for the bull to be one of those four guardians, and there's this whole like papal bull imagery, is also interesting. So, transformation. And you can, oh my gosh, it's like half of this person is one thing and half is the other. And again, with this dynasty energy, it's like these two halves sort of meeting and merging. Again, I love that it's transformation and not death. One side is the page of air, the other side is the fool. Why would it be anything but the fool? Apparently, I didn't even look. And it like the fool is zero, and also the page of air doesn't have a number. And again, I also love that it's like the fool because it sort of plays into that whole like there's no this isn't a logical conclusion. It's not something, it's not a point that anyone would naturally reach because of what life on earth is, because of what we see, witness, experience, because of what we go through, and because of how we largely collectively navigate challenge, difficulty, survival, thriving, and differences because we don't exist or live in vacuums. Also, obviously, the fool is a nod to that Heyoka sacred clown type energy. Right. But the fool is playing the trumpet just like we saw in the Archangel of Glory, the Angel of Art and Grace. But that also plays into the energy of the theurgic rite. Like it's not an angel, right? Because there's the seven trumpets in the book of Revelation. It's not necessarily an angel that calls for that. It's a person. It's different, but there's a horn. Here's a horn. Now the face down card that fell out. Guess what the face down card that fell out? That it fell like this. It fell like this. Oh, more or less. Yeah, like this. It's touching the star, covering the Five of Swords Hector, and it reaches out across this gap towards the title card. Guess what the card is? And it fell out of the deck face down. It's the moon. And in this moon card, it's like we see that it's not the sun that's behind all of these. Okay, well, that's a bit of a stretch. It's not the sun that's necessarily behind the guardians, but when we see a mortal figure, it's the moon. This is the moon that's behind her. The moon reflects sunlight at night. Also, again, within this moon, we see a crescent, just like we have the waxing and waning crescents on the axis of it. That removes corruption. Because the moon is here, this plays on an internal knowing. But again, there's this energy of like there's something that the fundament reaches up to and something that the firmament reaches down towards. Again, like we see these two hands here, but more often than not, it's like something gets in the way. There's a dissonance or a disconnect. Two things that should be quantumly entangled, but somehow there's like a quantum interference, quantum noise that disrupts that connection. This was in the middle. It wasn't on the far side. The dynasty was in between the golden shield, power and authority of fire, and the archangel commander, angel and storms of battles. What is that word? Spiritual warfare. I couldn't think of it earlier. This is like a spiritual warfare type energy, but not necessarily in the way that I've heard it, and not necessarily in the way that we typically think about it. Because it is like a battle in or around the soul of one, power and authority of fire, angel of storms and battles, or there's a storm that surrounds the soul. If fire is the soul, and we saw sulfur as fire as the soul yesterday. Again, I don't necessarily know what the point, not what the point was, but, and again, the intention wasn't necessarily to make something plain. It was just to dig deeper. And again, I feel like we've seen this. I feel like it was in a zodiac reading where like I did all 12 signs in the same live or most of them. And there was somebody somewhere was moving in a certain way that like aligned with the divine. And so that became, it's like a person became an expression of the will of the divine in some way. And you could say when it comes to free will, especially like collective free will, the free will of everyone and not just one person or people as individuals, that can limit the ability of an entity or energy that respects free will. But if someone uses their free will to align with the divine will, then it's almost like that's an opportunity for the divine to move through that person. Now, something that they do becomes a theurgic right that inspires the divine to move on a scale that it necessarily couldn't without an invitation, because it would be an infringement or an encroachment. But that alignment creates a bridge, however temporary. I also love that the page of air is here because it's been this cleansing breeze type energy, but it's just the page. We have the page of air on one side and we have the queen of earth on the other. The page can only do so much when faced with the queen, but sometimes a little bit is enough. So that's where I'm going to end this. No final cards today. Take it as it resonates. If it resonates, if it doesn't resonate, don't take it. Again, it's interesting. We've seen the lotuses bloom in this Ace of Cups, Holy Grail. We've seen the Hierophant on one lotus. We see Kuan Yin and the star on another. There's a third lotus that remains unoccupied, and maybe that one holds you, if this resonates. Or some version, the transformed you. The you that isn't dissonant when these two forces come in. Anyway, I gotta go to the restroom. I hope y'all have an amazing one. I want to see this. I hope you're acting environment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And until next time, just keep doing your best.